So you may be wondering, what does behavior have for an impact on the workplace? And the behavior impact is incredibly far-reaching. You see, leaders can have all the vision, all the ideas, all the energy, all the enthusiasm, and all the connections necessary to make the business a success. But at the end of the day, it's the staff themselves, each individual team member, that is responsible for carrying that vision, mission, and idea out. It is the staff and how they interact with each other and how they carry themselves that have an overall effect on the environment that you're working in. It has an overall effect on how the public perceives the organization, how easy it is to recruit other people to work for you, and how long employees stay, and how much people enjoy working for the organization. And all of that increases productivity. So even though your behavior is an individual issue, when you put it together with everyone else that you work with, it becomes a collective issue for the company and everyone's individual success. So you may be asking yourself, what exactly is appropriate workplace behavior? And I can understand that because it's a hard question to answer due to the subjective nature of the word appropriate. Now, each organization can and should have policies outlined about their hard-line, unacceptable behaviors. Things such as harassment, hate speech, discrimination, violent or aggressive behavior, theft, things of that nature. The truth is, those should be no-brainers for everyone. Unfortunately, some organizations, even though it seems like common sense, still struggle with those issues. But really, the everyday small things are what causes the most confusion and the most inconsistencies and can really vary from place to place. We're going to talk a little bit about those more minor details in this video. But if you ever have any question on whether or not something is appropriate, first consult your company handbook. A lot of things are outlined right there. Or go to your HR department or your team leader. And if you don't have the answer there, if you're in doubt, just don't do it. If you're questioning it at all, chances are it's going to fall in that gray area. So what does appropriate behavior look like in the job search? The first thing is to make sure that if you are scheduled for a phone or in-person interview, that you show up on time, at most 5 or 10 minutes early, and being prepared. The thing is, a hiring manager has carved out time specifically for you to give you the time and attention that you deserve to make your best first impression. And it is a little bit of a test. It's a test of whether or not you're reliable, dependable, committed to the job search. And so by showing up on time, you're demonstrating that you are all in and you are eager to make a great first impression. The next way to demonstrate is to not show up with an entourage. You see, job searching is not a team sport. And even though we all want a cheering section, that's not the time and place for one. So if you bring your significant other, your friends, your children to a job interview or a job fair, it might send the message that you aren't really interested in securing employment. When it comes to bringing other people, it may also bring into question whether or not you're going to be committed once you're hired. Will you be able to find childcare? Will you be able to separate the personal from the professional? When at your interview, you also want to make sure that you're not having anyone follow up for you, or after your interview, I should say. You see, you would think that's common sense, but unfortunately, we do have a lot of people, whether it be mothers, fathers, best friends, significant others, whatever it may be, calling to check on the status of someone's application. That doesn't demonstrate that you, the person applying, are committed to the job, and it just creates an awkward situation because an employer can only disclose information to the person who has applied. So always make sure that you follow up on your own. When you are at an interview, you also want to make sure that you turn your cell phones off. I don't know if you're like me, but I've become pretty dependent on my cell phone, and it can almost be instinctual to check to see if I got a message or scroll through my news feed. But unfortunately, it is a sign of disrespect when you're interviewing. You don't want to be distracted in any way. Again, the employer is carving out time for you specifically, and you don't need that added distraction. The last thing we want to bring up about the job search is you're never going to argue your way into a job. So even if you disagree with the employer's decision or how long the process is taking, becoming confrontational and argumentative is never going to help you. So make sure that you approach every situation in a cordial and friendly manner. And if for any reason you're not getting that job, you're gonna have to chalk that one off as something that just didn't pan out. But also you can take that opportunity to solicit a little feedback, a little constructive feedback. Do you see any other positions that I might be well suited for within your organization? Are there any things that I can do that can improve my chances of securing a position because I'm really interested in this kind of work? That is the best approach that you can take versus arguing or getting defensive. So we already discussed those hardline no's about appropriate behavior in the workplace earlier. You know, the ones that are outlined in the company handbook in regards to hate speech, harassment, discrimination, violent or aggressive behavior. But what are those more subtle behaviors that you need to be mindful of and watch for to make sure that you're creating a cohesive working environment and building strong workplace relationships? The first is to be inclusive. You don't have to like everyone and want to invite them over for Thanksgiving dinner or become their Facebook or Snapchat friend, but you do have to be open and accepting of the people that you work with. Even when you have major and core differences, you have to build professional and mutually beneficial working relationships. You're going to learn a lot through diversity. It's going to help you grow. So just be inclusive with everyone that you meet. No one wants to be singled out. You don't want it, so don't put somebody else in that position. The next thing is to make sure that you are avoiding controversy. Welcome to 2019. It feels like every time you turn on the news, there's some hot button issue or some political or religious issue that has everyone up in arms. The workplace should be free from any discussion on those topics. It creates a comfortable working environment for all. So avoid discussing those issues at work. And if you're ever approached by someone who's asking your more intimate thoughts on some of those issues, it is perfectly acceptable to say, I appreciate your interest in that subject, but I just choose not to discuss that at work. That sounds a very clear signal to them that you're setting a professional boundary that they can easily accept. They might not like it, but they can easily accept it, and by handling it in a very civil manner, you're also not putting them on the defensive and creating a conflict type scenario. The next thing is don't engage in office gossip. You're going to get frustrated. There's going to be a quirk about a coworker that drives you crazy, or maybe you even hear rumors from the rumor mill. Don't engage. When you engage in office gossip, it's usually because you're having an emotional moment or an annoyance, and you might feel this instant, immediate release, but that immediate gratification that you get is not going to last nearly as long as the negative impacts that you will feel. And you don't want to have any regrets tomorrow or have to come to someone and explain your bad choice of engaging in gossip. You also want to make sure that you're not oversharing intimate details of your life. At work, you're going to develop friendships. You're going to develop strong, confidant relationships. But engaging in oversharing at work about very personal details is not conducive to a healthy work environment. And chances are there's other people around that you might not want to know your business, but you're putting yourself in a position where they may be hearing things that you don't want them to. So avoid making personal phone calls in the office or workplace setting. Step outside, do it on your break time, and just avoid creating that awkward, uncomfortable situation. In addition to not oversharing, you also need to make a very conscious effort to not over ask. You need to make sure that you are respecting other people's boundaries and not asking personal details about their life, because it can create, again, an uncomfortable situation, and even in some cases, a legal situation, and you want to avoid that at all costs. The last thing I want to bring up is to not bring others down with you. Check your ego at the door. Check your aggression at the door. Check your judgments at the door. Check anything that you use as a defense mechanism to rise yourself up. You are all in this together with everyone that you work with. They say that rising tides raise all ships. Make sure you are the rising tide. If you're having a bad day, make it a mellow day for you. Keep to yourself a little bit more. Don't bestow your bad day and your misery on someone else that you work with. Just make sure that you're not engaging in behaviors that bring others down. If you're distracted, take a break. Go take a mental break. Don't distract your coworker with you. So it happens. Sometimes we engage in negative workplace behavior. Sometimes it becomes a habit. Sometimes it damages our professional brand and our professional image. The good news is, it doesn't always have to be that way. If you're watching this video, it's because you care. It's because you want to make a commitment to being the best worker you can be. It's because you want to make a commitment to moving and driving your professional reputation forward. So you can make that choice today to no longer engage in negative workplace behaviors. You can make that commitment today to be the best coworker and best employee you possibly can be. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Old habits die hard. Perhaps you have to distance yourself from a toxic clique that you were involved in that did a lot of gossiping or even bullying. Perhaps it's just a toxic environment that is bringing you down and you have to consider other employment. Again, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It may even involve you making amends to someone that you've hurt. But you can make that choice today to do better. You can make that choice today to apologize to people. So if you have a history of negative workplace behavior, today's your day. You can always rebuild your brand, but it's going to take work.